Hi, my name is Roseanne, and this is my Module 1 presentation for AEP 855. A little bit about me. I am married, and we have two daughters, Sophia, who is 5, and Ava, who will be 2 in January. We also have 2 dogs. I'm originally from Michigan, and now I reside in Arizona. We live in Gilbert, which is a suburb of Phoenix. I'm in my 10th year in education, and in my free time, I enjoy spending time with my family, sports, traveling, being outside, fitness. Moving into my education, I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education, and during my time in undergrad, I also minored in special education. Exceptional needs is what the program was called. I do have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Arizona State University. This degree focused on applied behavior analysis. So I'm currently pursuing my second master's degree in educational administration from Fort Hays. I have 7 years of teaching experience, 3 years in leadership. So I was in second grade for 2 years. I love second grade. I did middle school special ed, both resource setting and emotional disability, self-contained and private placement settings. And now I'm currently a dean of students at an elementary school. And this is my 3rd year in that role. My current work environment, like I said, I am the dean of students. It is a small elementary school. We serve grades kindergarten through 6th grade. There's roughly 420 students, varies throughout the year. We are a STEM school, and I am part of the site and district leadership teams. It's just myself, the principal, and our master teacher, our site leadership. So I do a lot of the assistant principal roles, just paid like a teacher. So my daily duties include school-wide discipline, restorative behavior practices. I do have a caseload of teachers that I do instructional coaching for, teacher evaluations, and then I focus on our truancy and I help oversee our special education on site. The beginning of this school year was different. In Arizona, a lot of school districts are on what's called a modified year-round school year. And so typically with that, we start in the middle of July. We have 2 weeks off for fall break, 2 weeks off for winter break, and spring break as well. And then we end before Memorial Day. So this year they pushed that start date back into the middle of August, hoping that our COVID numbers would subside. They did not, so we began in remote learning. We did that for about a month. On September 14, we transitioned to a hybrid learning. What that model looked like in our district, we had 2 cohorts, a Monday, Wednesday, and then a Tuesday, Thursday cohort. So kids would come to school 2 days a week. We did offer a full virtual learning model as well. So we had, about 100 kids on our site do that learning model. We are a 4-day week school district, so that is that 5th day in the week our teachers have off anyway, so it worked out the 2 days and 2 days. And then we went back to remote learning the last week of our first semester, so 3 weeks ago now before our winter break, and we will return to remote in January for 2 weeks before hopefully the board will decide to return to a hybrid model. But they meet mid-January to discuss that. Moving into the critical reflection piece of this assignment based on our resources. So first we were asked, what are the 3 types of mindsets? So in Moore's article, they mentioned all students can learn is that first mindset. Working close to close that equity and opportunity gaps. I do agree with this mindset. I think this is something that all educators, I hope, have the forefront in their minds and all that they do. I think all students can learn. It might not be obviously at the same pace or the same material, but whether it's academics, emotional learning, social learning, or life skills, all students are learning. Second mindset mentioned is teacher collaboration over isolation. Obviously, within this mindset, you are very aware and in tune with your staff's time, talent, and other resources, and you are utilizing those appropriately. You see collaboration and teamwork for school improvement over working alone and in isolation. And lastly, happiness and optimism. These are mentioned to be precursors of success. I do agree with this. I do think that optimism is one of my strengths. I like to see the positive side on things, especially when things are challenging. That's kind of my favorite. And happiness and optimism do cultivate a mindset to fuel that greater fulfillment. We were then asked what are the 5 types of dispositions. So Moore mentions confidence, risk taker and decisive action, sense of humor, empathetic, assertive, and then the last one is a learner. So looking back at that first one, that confidence disposition, in this disposition, these leaders are ambitious. Their decision making, is based on student learning. Secondly, risk taking and being decisive. It's all action oriented. They learn by doing. They're not afraid to fail and make mistakes. Third, sense of humor. If used appropriately, this is obviously positive and good to ease tensions, de escalate conflict, and have a positive impact on others. The fourth disposition, empathetically assertive. In this disposition, they are very good at viewing things in different perspectives, coaching others, and praising others for their successes. And then lastly, the learner disposition. You're a learning leader. You're sharing and practicing what you're learning constantly. I do agree with these dispositions. I think when I first started reading this material, I thought that there would be more dispositions. I guess as I was reading these 5 types, I was thinking of leaders, especially unfortunately in education and in other parts of leadership in our world. But I think that there are other mentalities of leading. I think all 5 of these can be very positive. And unfortunately, I think that there are some negative mindsets and dispositions for leaders as well. So I guess I was kind of shocked that there was only 5 dispositions mentioned. But I do agree with the 5 mentioned. What are the 3 types of practices? The first practice mentioned in Moore's article is focus and prioritizing. The courage to say no and stay focused, having simplicity at the forefront. Second practice, examining feedback and data. Data is a priority. Make sure that it is a venue to monitor student learning and kind of drive that instruction and correct any systems in place that may be needing improvements. And then utilizing relevant data. So are we looking at this with purpose and as a point, or are we just looking at it to say that we looked at it? And then lastly, emotional intelligence. With this, you have purposeful interactions. You treat others with dignity and respect. Very reflective practice. My leadership team, we were just talking about emotional intelligence right before break at one of our site leadership meetings and the importance of emotional intelligence in our roles. And I think, especially with a handful of our staff, everything has to be their idea. And so, how do we have those hard conversations and kind of guide them into what we want them to say or do or reflect on, but make it their idea? And so, obviously, that is very purposeful. And dignity and respect kind of drives that conversation. So I do think these practices are very important, especially in a improving school and student achievement perspective. Moving into ethical leadership and 8 principles to make ethical leadership. First, we had personal courage to stand up when necessary, stand up against stakeholders, the community, or colleagues. Second, we had public interest ahead of self. Educators, we are public servants. So to make sure that students' needs are first, as leaders, make sure your staff needs come first. The third principle, self-control, discipline, and integrity. These are 3 characteristics and attributes that are very important for ethical leadership. With these, mutual respect and ethical decisions come. Fourth, task and employee centeredness. Use your teacher strengths appropriately. Interact with students. Our 5th principle is recognizing talent. to promote individuals to create goodwill among the community. Next, requiring high ethics. Ethical standards do trickle within an organization. It extends to the students, the staff, the parents, the community. So having those high ethics instilled in your practices is very important, and then making sure that others see those as well. Sensitivity and understanding is necessary in order to practice that equity that we mentioned before. And then lastly, inclusiveness, sense of belonging. All stakeholders are included in decision making and processes. Moving into my personal and professional critique, a critique with mindsets. I do believe all three of those mindsets, especially all students can learn in optimism. I can't help but kind of think of the environmental barriers that some of our students face impede their learning and achievement. Maybe not their personal learning academically, but opportunities and success in life. And then collaboration, I am very type A. And so I do have a tendency to kind of would rather just work by myself and do it myself than collaborate with others and kind of wait for others or correct others, not correct, but kind of come to see how they're going about the task. Regarding dispositions, I am a very calculated risk taker. I do think things out. I always ask myself what's best for kids, but I'm not afraid of failure to make mistakes, to try new things. I do lead with confidence, and then I am a learner. I'm in my second master's program, and I love learning. I love trying new things. Something I would need to work on is that sensitivity piece. My principal always jokes with me, and I like to think it's my high expectations I have of my colleagues, but I just don't have a lot of tolerance for adults and constant making mistakes or constant, if something is asked to be done in the classroom or has to be done, and they're asking, how do you do this? Or questions in staff meetings, and we're constantly repeating myself. I do need to have a little more sensitivity and understanding and patience with that. Moving into practices, I would say we analyze data to the nth degree in my district, site, district level, in my coaching sessions with my teachers one-on-one. And then I know the best gift that we can give teachers is time. So I am very purposeful, intentional with my interactions. Something I could improve on is saying no. I love to say yes and do everything for everybody. So that's something that would be a weakness. Lastly, the principles. It is important to be well-rounded and have all of these principles in the front of your mind, especially while you're laying the foundation for your ethical leadership. Something that I would want to work on more so is personal courage against stakeholders in the community. I work in a very low socioeconomic community, and I see a lot of cyclical things happening. And a lot of people, I don't live in the town that I work in, it's about 40 minutes away, but a lot of the community kind of feeds into the district, and they love to hire people within the community. And so it's very hard I'm very assertive and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. But at the district level and kind of in the community, make sure that I'm not afraid to speak my mind. These all kind of feed into the well-being of students and staff. With these, you have high expectations for everyone, and that feeds into that culture. It's necessary to have a balance of everything in each of those topics, but especially being assertive and understanding and listening. I like the concept of all arrows pointing in the same direction. This is necessary for staff. We all kind of have to know what the school's goal and vision is. We have to be very intentional with our planning and our actions. It's very data driven and student focused. Again, my saying is what's best for kids. And then lastly, these all help kind of build that trust, being approachable, confident, incorporating roles for stakeholders. That's very important as well. And then demonstrating integrity in all you do. This is my standard correlation, relevance, and reflection section for standard 2.1. And here are my references. Thank you very much.